All right, so I have this big task of talking about AI. So it might be not very surprising, but actually it's super important that we are talking about it. So I will try to kind of like simplify AI and make it more like what it is. Quick introduction. No quick introduction. So just to give you kind of like who I am. So I'm in charge of all the data and measurement topics for Google France, especially around automotive industry. And I have a company called PricingForThePlanet. And we developed actually a Gen AI solution specialized on pricing for sustainability. So tonight I will talk about my Google experience and I will talk about my PricingForThePlanet experience. So I love those because it's like we keep talking about AI. We have been talking about AI for a very long time. The truth is, behind AI, there is a lot of statistics. Statistics have been around for a very long time, but it's less sexy. And I think we will have less people if we would talk about statistics tonight. So machine learning and artificial intelligence, we have to keep in mind that it's deeply rooted into statistics and mathematical models. Now, if we try to give a definition to AI, this is kind of like the simple way of looking at AI. So you have all the optimization, and I think, you know, being like with Transdev tonight, we have a lot of experience with optimization. It's not new. We know how to do that. Then you have automation. So it's very funny because you have RPA, so robotic process automation. It's super powerful. Almost nobody's talking about it. Very efficient. But it's in this yellow circle, so less sexy than machine learning. Then you have artificial intelligence. So to try to explain, so it's also rule-based. So there is a lot of smart thing that machines can do, but it's rule-based, so it's not machine learning. And then you have machine learning, which is really learning from all the data that we have on hand, and the machine will kind of like on its own decide and take decision. Coming back to my first slide, why statistics is so important, because the technology evolved not from the mathematical models, but from the data point of view. Because today we have cloud technology, we can store gigantic amount of data, and that's why now machine learning is so efficient. It's because we can handle so much data. So first one, it's like myth number one. You know, I keep having these, questions. Gen AI, it's kind of magic. Where is it coming from? It's, crazy. And I'm probably the first Google guy that you see that will start a conference with an OpenAI screenshot. But what I like with OpenAI, it's you can really show the probabilities. So to have fun, I've put, I am a mobility actor. How can I use Gen AI? And what's super important, it's what you see, the color code, it's actually just probability. So it's just a machine that is running probability, and you can see 87% probability that mobility is coming after Gives and Gen AI. So it's, when you really think about it, it's just the sum of probability that OpenAI is doing, and then it's a sum of the sentence, it's a sum of the paragraph, it's a sum of the entire output of the model. But it's kind of just a sum of probabilities. So when you get that, it's less sexy, it's more math, but you understand how it's working, so now it's easier actually to play with the system. The second myth is, especially with ChatGPT and what happened, it's like, oh, I cannot control Gen AI. Well, actually, it's not true. The first version of ChatGPT and a bunch of ChatGPT you cannot control, but it's not designed to be controlled. And so on this one, I'm more corporate. So this one is Google Cloud. So it's our own solution, and you can really see, it's kind of small, but you can see we can put context, and then you can put an example. And as an output, which is the the last, like the last part of the slide, you can see I'm asking what is the best insurance for my apartment in Paris, and actually the model is telling you to discover more options on solutions.generali.fr, which is exactly what I'm giving the model in the context and in the example. So bottom line, it's like when you start to think about probability, you start to think how you can control Gen AI, and there is a lot of options, there is a lot of way to make sure that you can control Gen AI, and that Gen AI is just a tool. And if you understand the math behind, it's kind of like easy to play with the tool. Then this kind of like dream or nightmare, I don't know, it's like AI will take over. I think a lot of people are talking about Terminator, so it's super funny because we have a lot of trouble to define if it's a cat or not on a picture, and then people are talking about Terminator. Yeah, why not? But to be realistic, what we see AI, or where we see AI very useful, is to really simplify our life. It will not take over jobs. It will actually make the low value task less relevant, and we will automate all those tasks. So human can be much more around high value added tasks. And this one, we like to present this prompt to insights. You have a bunch of application. One, because we're in the mobility space, we like this one. It's like, you can imagine, I'm sure you have a bunch of dashboards with, you know, fancy analytics, a lot of information, probably too much information. And then you spend hours to figure out, okay, what is the answer of my simple question? Well, what AI will do, it's really, you can ask your question. You don't need all those fancy dashboards anymore, and you have your answer super easily. So a lot of changes will happen that now we have too much data. We don't know what to do. We have limitation to use all this data. It's a human and technical limitation. With the use of advanced AI and new LLM models, we will be able actually to get even more data, to use even more data, to leverage even more data, and we will be able to simplify much of this use from data. And then, so let's see if it works. Yeah, so here, because I know you will have a bunch of like open discussions about AI, just wanted to give you kind of like a glance, a flavor of how we apply AI with our clients. So you can see a bunch of options going through Google Workspace. So one is really like, you know, we talked about creativity. It's one of the way. Creating project management dashboard. So this is kind of interesting because now you won't waste your time creating like an Excel file or like a Google Sheet. You will get automatically the data that you are prompting directly into your Google Sheets. Then for a lot of companies, they are spending a lot of time either translating information across different like regions, or actually, you know, creating kind of like information for communicating internally. Now you can kind of automate much of those tasks. And again, so the key competencies, the key skills will be around having the right message and not just drafting and now exactly how to write. Security is a big one, because I'm sure it might be one of the questions. It's like, where is my data? Where is my data sent? Where is my data stored? Actually, AI is a great tool to make sure that your security and all your privacy guidelines internally are respected, and you can use AI for that. And then from a marketing point of view, of course, you have a bunch of use cases where you can use AI overall. So again, just to give you, I'm not saying that's an exhaustive list, not at all, but just give you kind of flavor of how we can use those technologies.